I feel like we've all been there at some points in our lives where even though we have a clear vision or a dream of what we would want to do, yet we still don't do it because of what? Because we're too afraid of the unknown. I know for myself that I've been there back in the days when I was still working my corporate job, deep down knowing that I actually wanted to do something else, yet I was too afraid to make a change because I was too afraid. So in this video, I'm not only going to share my story with you, but also all of the BS that I used to tell myself in order to avoid chasing my dreams, so that hopefully you don't make the same mistakes. So who am I? I'm Cristina. I'm a girl from Germany that became a dentist later in life. When I was 27, I quit my corporate job. I was living in Finland at the time in order to become a dentist, which also meant moving back to my home country. So why didn't I become a dentist early in life? It's because of all these limiting beliefs that I had within me and that I kept telling myself, and that you're probably telling yourself as well, in order to avoid the thing that you actually should be doing. And so for me, that was in no particular order. I'm way too old for this right now. I'm not smart enough / good enough. I could fail at this. I probably will fail at this. And doing this will mean I will fall behind in life. So let's start with the good old classic, that is feeling like you're too old for something. I say that this is a classic because this is one of the reasons that really almost held me back from going back to university, because I thought this is something that should be, exclusively for people who are in their early 20s or late teens, because that was also my experience during my first degree. Like, I started and finished my first degree during my early 20s. And so I thought, that's it. The university doors have closed for an old grandma like me. And I was imagining that I would go back to uni and people would ask me why I'm not in my corporate job and or at a sales meeting. And luckily that has never happened, yet I felt so self-conscious about the fact that I'm already in my late 20s, or the beginning of my late 20s, however you want to phrase being 27. And now looking back, I'm thinking, thank God that didn't hold me back, or that didn't prevent me from pursuing the career I actually wanted to have for myself, because it is such a BS excuse. Like, nobody actually cares what age you are if you want to do something, and the people who supposedly look down on you for, starting something at whatever age you might be at a point, I feel like they're mostly worried because by you showing them that change is actually possible, they themselves would have to confront their own dreams, and sometimes that's too scary. Am I making sense? I hope I'm explaining it in a way that I want to explain it. But yeah, by you showing other people that you're capable of change or chasing your dreams, it can cause a bit of discomfort to others because they're using the same old excuses on themselves in order to avoid what they actually want to do. So I remember during the first semester of dental school, when I would introduce myself and people would ask me my age or what I had been up to, like, at first I felt really awkward and almost apologetic about it, but it turned out that actually I was the only one who felt awkward about it, and everybody else thought it was a great move and the right thing to do, or at least nobody looked down on me or thought it was weird. Like, everybody thought it was super cool. At least so they told me. Also, like, if you think about the whole concept of age, like, all in all, it is also an accumulation of experience. And for example, in my case, I found that my age and having been through certain experiences prior actually helped me to get through dental school to begin with, because I had seen all kinds of other stressful situations beforehand. So even though the whole thing was still super intimidating because it demanded so much study time and so much effort, yet given the age I did not have to buy into every rumor or nervous breakdown others had, because I could just classify it or evaluate the whole thing from a different perspective than had I been in my early 20s or 19 myself. So that was definitely also a benefit. Coming to my next point, which is not feeling smart enough or not feeling knowledgeable enough in order to chase your dream. That's also a good one, and that's something I definitely had that almost prevented me from sending in my papers, because I kept telling myself the story of not being smart enough or good enough for dental school, because to me dental school was this place of super sophistication, smart, inventing mathematical formulas in your spare time type of environment, which by the way isn't true. And since I wasn't that great at natural sciences during my high school times, I told myself in order to pass the exams, I have to be a super genius in these subjects. And it's so weird, right? Because that experience from high school almost completely prevented me from having the career I wanted to have for myself, just because several teachers with probably also major FOMO about their careers planted the seed in my head that I'm just not good at these subjects. And the funny thing is that once I actually went to dental school, it turned out that I actually am good at natural sciences. And so this goes back to us thinking that we know ourselves and knowing so much about ourselves, yet our beliefs, especially about ourselves, are just so entirely limited. And they are limited because of ourselves magnifying past experiences that then make us believe that we're something or we're not something. But there's actually something incredibly powerful about proving yourself wrong, because most of the times we are wrong about ourselves. And especially when it comes to, feeling not something enough about something, maybe you can also start to rephrase the narrative in a way where you can tell yourself, maybe I'm not good at XYZ yet. But the whole point is that you get started in order to actually acquire the knowledge that you need, or to get good at whatever it is that you need to get good at. So proving yourself wrong or succeeding at something you prior thought would be impossible for you to achieve or succeed at is actually really refreshing and also really empowering, because it leads you to questioning what else is possible. And through curiosity and more experience, you have all kinds of other doors that open once you make a decision to change, and once you actually prove yourself wrong, which is likely going to happen once you set your heart to it. Honestly, life is a lifelong learning experience, or at least that's how I view it. And just because you don't know something right at this point, it doesn't mean that you'll never know it or that you'll never be capable of doing something. And also coming back to this whole I don't know enough or I'm not knowledgeable enough. Knowledge doesn't always mean that you'll succeed at something, because what also happens, the more information you gather, the more knowledge you gather, the more it can paralyze you, because you don't actually do something, you just accumulate knowledge that doesn't go anywhere. So in order for you to really see if you're capable of doing something or not, you actually have to do something. Like, you need to start what it is that you want to do. And it doesn't matter how prepared you are, it doesn't matter how much you know, there's always got to be a point where you start something in order to find out if this is actually something you can do or not. And I feel like most likely you will be able to do it. Moving on to the next point, which is afraid of failure. I'm well aware of the fact that I can't start every new section with saying, oh my god, this is a good one, this was true in my case, but this is a good one and this was true in my case. Because before going to dental school, I was 90% sure that I'm gonna fail after the first semester, and that the University of Dresden is very kindly going to ask me to leave because I'm not going anywhere, or because I just suck at this. And I was so worried about this, like almost to the point where I couldn't sleep at night, because I was thinking, oh my god, what if I fail? Then I would have left my corporate job, hence jeopardized my career. And then what would I do then? I didn't have a plan B. And the funny thing is, I mean, funny in hindsight, when I was in that situation, it wasn't funny at all. And I don't know how many gray hairs I've accumulated because of this. But what actually happened is that I was so mortified of failing and being kicked out of the program that it actually served me as a big motivator to study as much and to work as hard as I could in order to prevent failing. So even though sleepless nights, gray hair, wrinkles probably, all of that, it actually sort of backfired in a positive way because of me being so afraid. I just did everything I could to prevent myself from getting into that situation. But then let's think about what would have happened had I failed. Even though, of course, that would have been quite a big one for me, because that would have meant to never ever be able to do what I had wanted to do from a very young age. At the same time, failure isn't a deadly disease, meaning that you can recover from it. I know that a big portion always comes from us worrying what other people will think of us if we fail. And to be honest with you, I don't think that anybody would have judged me. Like, of course, I understand that the feeling feels very real, that, you know, the whole world is gonna point the finger at you and laughing, but I don't think this is what actually happens, because I think we also like to neglect the fact that in everybody's head is one or two dreams that are waiting to be released and fulfilled, yet many people don't do so much about it. And so by seeing other people trying to fulfill their dreams and failing, we do realize that at least they have tried to do something about it, rather than pushing those dreams away and pretending they don't exist. And therefore I feel that a lot more people are compassionate towards people that have at least tried something. And if actually people laugh at you or look down on you for having tried something, then maybe it's time to rethink your social circles to begin with. Because what the, you know, I'm not gonna swear, don't make me swear. But you get the point. Like, what is this? When I was in dental school, there was a friend who shortly left the company that I used to work for as well in order to, am I gonna say it? I'm gonna say it, in order to become a psychologist. And she went to Amsterdam. And of course, I'm super supportive of that because I thought it was really cool. I had known her and I knew that corporate life also wasn't for her and she wanted to do something else. So we were both in very similar situations. But for example, had she failed or had she been kicked out of that program, of course I wouldn't have judged her. I would have been there for her, I would have supported her, and I would have also supported her to find something else after that, or to, you know, try to help her rebuild herself in order to find the strength to do something else. And hopefully she would have done the same for me, but I'm sure she would have. And what about failure itself? I feel that the moment you try something that you normally wouldn't try, and even if you fail at that, at this point you have gathered new insights, new experiences, and therefore also new ideas and new opportunities for doing something else, even if you should fail. And who knows, maybe you're not gonna fail to begin with, but this is something you only can find out once you've actually tried it. On to the next point, which I feel is a good one, and that is the fear of being behind in life. When I went back to uni, when I was in my first semester of dental school at age 27, of course, what were my other friends doing? Most of them were having their first kids, they bought houses, they got married, all of that. Meanwhile, my life couldn't have been further away from it. That was really difficult for me because I'm a person who loves timelines, or who, you know, likes to stick to things other people are doing. And so going to dental school at that age was actually something completely atypical of me, and probably one of the wildest things I have done. And I keep telling this to my parents just to remind them how lucky they are, that like, oh my god, look, your daughter, the craziest thing she has done is going to dental school. Wow. So much so for rioting and being a rebellious child. Wow. No, but that was the first time in my life that I had done something that wasn't typical or wasn't really a thing to do at that age, if you get what I mean. And I found that really difficult. But it was really essential for me to also experience that, because oftentimes magic only happens in life when you do something a bit different from what other people are doing. So if you're having this fear, keep in mind that there will always be a time in our lives when we feel left behind. And just because you're living in a big house and are married with kids, which is something super awesome to have, but it doesn't mean that this is gonna solve all of your problems, and you can be super miserable also in that situation as well, for whichever reason. And I feel like it's good to remember that life doesn't always progress in a linear fashion where you can, you know, tick off the boxes as you go, because by the time I graduated from dental school, some of my friends had already been divorced, back at uni as well, and in a shared accommodation with flatmates. So that also happens. Just because life is one way at this point doesn't mean it has to be like that the next day, good or bad. Yet I would encourage you not to use this as an excuse as to why you can't change and or do something you actually want to do. Also imagine I had stayed in my old job just because I was too afraid of falling behind in life, you know? First of all, just because you're doing the right things doesn't also mean that you're always going to be on track. As I said, life doesn't always progress in a linear fashion, and it can be quite good for your mental hygiene to shake things up also. So life can change, and I would encourage you to allow life to change as well, because you get so much more out of it. In other words, stay curious, stay adventurous. And by that I mean whatever this means to you, because I don't see myself walking around holding a python anytime soon, if that means being adventurous to you. And I also want to say that while becoming a dentist, of course, didn't change all of my problems, because once you do something, new problems occur. I'm still so super glad that I did it, because if there's one thing that is not worth having in your life is living a life full of regrets. And not going after what you would actually want to do will guarantee that you will have regrets, and they're gonna bite you in the ass at some point. Promise! So don't let your limiting beliefs that your high school teachers infiltrated let you hold back from anything. Let me know what you're currently proving to yourself, or what dreams you're chasing, or what's holding you back. I actually made a video about glowing up from a teeth perspective, so I feel like whatever you do, this is me as a dentist talking, don't forget your teeth. So have a look at that video, and otherwise I hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!